I'm so excited for you all to be here and hear from our alumni and their experiences as undergrads at SNHU, their programs and their experiences and what they're doing now, how they created their small business, what they're doing in their small business, and some of the challenges and successes they've had amidst the pandemic. So I am going to stop talking and really just let them shine tonight. I have a few questions, but I want it to be interactive. And so you have questions, like I said, put them in the chat and I'll monitor them as we go through. My dog is upstairs with me, so I'm so sorry that you just heard her shake and her collars is so loud. So Courtney, if you want to just start, you can kick it off. Tell us a little bit about you. If you wanted to highlight anything in your bio too, that would be awesome. The name of your company, how long you've been a company for, kind of your pathway, and how you got started.
First take myself off of mute and then I can begin. So my name is Courtney Caccavelli. I'm class of 2016. I started out my company actually as a blog in 2015. It was my junior year and I was studying abroad. And the name The Polished Decade kind of came to be when I was at the beginning of my early 20s and I was abroad and I was experiencing like really everything. It's like when you're in your 20s, you experience like breakups, you experience career changes, you figure out like who your friends are, like really all these like fundamental aspects of your life through this decade of your 20s. And honestly, it was a hot mess for me at the beginning stage. So I was inspired by that and I wanted to turn it into something polished and pretty. So that's really where the name came to be. And so off of that, I kind of started blogging. I was a fashion major, so I blogged about fashion and travel and everything that was really inspiring me at the beginning of my 20s. And then about actually a little bit over a year ago now, I really thought I could take this further. I want to bring it from just a blog. I want to make it into a store. I want to make an experience. And I want to create like a network of people going through the same thing. So from that, I started The Polished Decade, the brand. And last year in 2019, it became a legal brand. And we've been up and running for a year. I had 2 interns last summer. Going into the winter, we're hiring interns again. It's mainly a clothing brand, but we have some tumblers and we have some home pieces as well. And it's been really exciting to kind of see that vision come into reality. That's my little pitch.
Awesome. Danielle, if you wanted to go next, introduce yourself and same question.
So my path, so what I currently do is not what was easily predicted when I was a student. I graduated in 2010 and I was in the business and heavily involved with everything on campus. I mean, I was president of CAPE, I was a tour guide, I was one of the first PALs, peer advising leaders. I mean, you name it, I was probably involved in it at some point. And then I graduated, got a job. I knew I wanted to still work for higher education since I was so involved with that. So I worked for 2 years as an admissions rep out in Worcester, and I wanted to get my master's in higher education. So I went back home to Western Mass and studied at Springfield College, graduating in 2014 with my master's of higher ed, thinking, you know, higher ed, this is it, this is it. But always in the backside, I loved programming and I loved working out. It was just kind of 2 of my favorite pastimes. And I was teaching one class in 2015 at a facility called Roots Aquatics and Fitness. Also on campus there, they have Roots Gymnastics, 2 preschools, a swim school, and now the Roots Athletic Center where my cycling studio is housed. So after 2015, successfully teaching a few classes while maintaining a full-time job in Springfield, my bosses here sat me down and said, what would it take for you to leave higher education? And to be quite honest, I said, not much. So I got certified in a bunch more things. I was able to use what I had studied at SNU in management and marketing from CAPE and programming. So now I am one of 2 managers there, partial owner of Root Cycle, which is the only boutique spinning studio God, closest to Boston. There's nothing on this side of Massachusetts. There's nothing really in Hartford. There's a cycle bar, but we think we're better than them. They're kind of cookie cutter. So we have literally designed that studio from the ground up. Within the fitness center, I also manage the swim school, our childcare, our snack bar. I pretty much do everything except teach swim lessons. So closing down our 3 businesses during COVID was interesting. But I can't say that I would have been successful without honestly studying business at SNU, because the higher ed piece in my master's, it kind of helps with working with my employees, but the management part was huge, and the programming part from CAPE that I learned for sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Danielle. Bailee, same question to you. If you want to tell us a little bit about your SNHU experience and about your company.
Hi, everyone. My name's Bailee. I'm the owner of Gourmet Bay Catering. Everyone knows what year they started, and that's amazing. It just feels like a blur to me. So I have to look back and see. But I graduated from SNU in 2015. I have a degree in culinary management as well as baking and pastry arts. I actually finished a semester early, which is pretty exciting. So I kind of got a jump on, the job search and everything. I started at the Museum of Science right after I graduated, and I kind of hopped from restaurant to restaurant, which in other jobs it looks bad, but in a restaurant it's like you gain experience from working with different chefs and going from place to place. But I quickly decided that I wanted to work for myself, just because I have a say in what goes on and you get the full credit for it, which I think is really important. So I decided to I wanted to open up a catering company, and I was going to do it out of my house. And I went to the health department and I was like, this is what I want to do. And she goes, well, you need a real kitchen to do that, like a commercial kitchen. You can't just do it out of your house. So I didn't have any money. Like, I couldn't just do that. So I went from door to door with my business plan, and I asked different restaurants and different people if they wouldn't mind me using their kitchen space on an as-need basis. And eventually someone said yes to me. And it kind of went from there. I worked in the shared space for a couple of years, and then as I grew, I decided that I needed my own place. So I actually started leasing a place in Johnston, Rhode Island a little bit over a year ago, which is super exciting. So I've been officially full-time at the business for 2 years, part-time for another 2 years.
Awesome. Thank you all for answering those questions. Another piece to kind of jump along that same vein is like, what's your favorite part of being a part of your business? Like, what do you find joy in every day? And why have you kind of stuck with being a business owner? Anybody can jump, doesn't matter.
I can start. So for me, I actually work a 9-to-5 as well. I'm a buyer for a fashion company. So my small business is actually my side hustle. And I always joke that I have a 9-to-5 and a 5-to-9. And for me, I truly enjoy my 5-to-9. I love having my small business, and I'm a really creative person. So I like having this truly piece of me out there and keeping it going, and keeps me happy. So that's kind of what brings me joy in that every day.
I would say, as you can tell, I didn't go to Southern New Hampshire to just go to class. I was always doing something. So where I work, you name it, it's happened, honestly. Between clogged toilets and an HVAC system falling in the pool, it's happened. The best part of my schedule is when it's 30 minutes before the class that I have to teach, I can leave a meeting. That's the moneymaker, is the classes. So it is my way out, because I've been at jobs where I'm like, okay, we just keep talking in circles. So it's very active, which is good. And I'm not forced to sit all day, which I don't know if I could do any time soon.
I think for me, the customer satisfaction aspect is really awesome. Just knowing that, you might have had a long day and your feet are tired and this, that, and the other thing, and you made someone else's day, and like someone else is just overjoyed because of what you did. I think that really means a lot, and that definitely keeps you going on the harder days.
Awesome. So want to shift questions. And I'm curious, Danielle, if you want to start on this one. But obviously the pandemic has shifted a lot for all of us. And I'm curious, what were some pivot points that you all made to stay nimble during the shifting environment? And did you have any positive surprises during this shift?
Yeah. I mean, I remember March 15th, so I remember what I ate for breakfast. I remember everything. I was house sitting in a town called Blandford, which doesn't have a street light, doesn't have cable. So I had to drive down Westfield to my house to hear Charlie Baker's announcement at 7 p.m. And he announced that gyms must all close by the next day at 8 p.m. So me and my boss met at the gym on that Sunday at 7 p.m. And, I know you probably all felt the same way. You were naive and you thought 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks, like, we're gonna be fine, whatever, 2 weeks. So we sent out this email, like, we're closed temporarily, we'll be back. And then next thing you know, it's, phases, push back, push back, push back. I would say the biggest two takeaways I could take from this is community and creativity. We were charging members still because we didn't know how long this was going to be, and we had to keep our lights on. I mean, at the end of the day, we had to make money. Once we had found out it was going to be longer than a month, then we stopped payments, and actually a lot of people came through and said, please keep charging my card. We want to support you. So community to me is huge, and I'll never forget those people at all. I was also having to be creative because I wanted to be on the same platform as the members. I wasn't taking equipment home from the gym and staying in shape here. I filled up like laundry detergent with water. I used empty handles of vodka as dumbbells. I'm not gonna lie, it was insane. I used plates instead of sliders. And I was teaching in my living room, which really isn't that big at all, trying to keep them moving and happy. So the creativity and the community aspect really brought us together. So when our doors did reopen, our relationships as trainer to member was so different. And then there were some people that had never really talked to me in class, but then via Zoom, they started opening up. And now when they're in class, we're so much more connected. And what was nice was, I was telling Sue earlier, I went down to my dad's in Florida for a month. So I was able to still do that and be a part of it virtually, which I would never be able to take a month off of work, ever. So yeah, I would say those are definitely the two positives.
Those are such good ones, though, and I think speak so many volumes to you and your company, right? Being able to be flexible, but also still holding such strong values as part of who you guys are.
Yeah. I mean, it was scary with COVID. People need to move, and knowing that people were staying home and not necessarily moving was scary. People were depressed. They couldn't celebrate birthdays. They couldn't see their families. Things were canceled. And I mean, that's our job, right? Is all about endorphins and making you feel good and keeping you to a routine. And I think people craved routine, and that was really, really, really lacking. So the people that did end up, sticking with it, they felt okay. And they appreciated weights when we were able to play with them again.
That's awesome. Bailee, if you wanted to answer the same question.
I think like Danielle said, when the pandemic hit, you were kind of like, we'll be fine. I remember distinctly speaking with a past employer. He's like, so do you think you're going to get affected by this? And I was like, no. The majority of my day-to-day or the majority of my business is events. So, I don't necessarily have someone coming into the shop every day and ordering this, that, and the other thing. It's events. And after the 2 weeks, people were like, oh, we should cancel this or we should postpone this. And it kind of just hit me all at once. And I really didn't want to do anything. So, which is not good or positive in any way, shape, or form, but we all handle it differently. And I didn't work for a while, and I got a text. Actually, I got a phone call from a prior client. I just did like a really quick dinner for her. And she goes, I just got this text message from some catering company. I don't even know who they are. Why aren't you doing this? Get your stuff online right now. I will tell my friends. I'll tell my coworkers. We're going to get you going again. And it was really nice to know that someone who I've only met once or twice cared about my business that much. She wanted to help me. So that was kind of like the jump start. I got off the phone with her and I just started putting stuff on my online store and then, sending out emails. And that was what I needed to get started again. I think also I had applied for a farmer's market and I never heard back. And then a week before it started, she was like, I know this is really last minute, but if you can make it work, let's do it. And now a bunch of people in the community who had passed my store, never knew who I was, never stopped in, they now know who I am. And the farmer's market is paying for my rent right now, which is awesome. So definitely what I've taken out of this. Stay positive. Yeah. Oh, Allie, you're paused.
Oh, bummer.
There you go.
I'm like, what the heck is happening? So true. And I think, it's so hard to do some days. And it's such a important thing to keep in the back of our minds that like, there will be good days and there will be hard days. And if you're positive throughout, like we'll make it through. Courtney, if you wanted to answer the same.
Yeah, I can kind of piggyback off of what Bailey just said too. For me, my company, we do a lot of pop-ups at like breweries and kind of events like that. And that's truly where, same for my company, you get the most business. You're face-to-face. It's great networking experience. And for me being in Boston, everything got canceled. I remember in March alone, I think I had 15 pop-ups canceled. And it was devastating because you don't just get to attend these pop-ups, you actually have to apply and get in and get accepted and pay a fee. And so for all those to get canceled was really heartbreaking. So you got to get creative and you got to think of different ways to keep your business alive and network and get it out there. So for me, I started doing virtual pop-ups like on my Instagram stories. And it works. And it's really how I do a lot of my business now is through social selling and everything like that. But from COVID, so aside from the pop-ups, my biggest, I would say pit, and then I do have a peak, but the pit would be, for me, I ship everything out from my apartment. So USPS is like my best friend. I'm there every other morning, dropping off orders. And I always like to tell people that I will get it out within the week. It could be at your house 2 days later. And at this point during COVID, at the beginning, I could ship it out on a Monday and it might not get to somebody a month later, just with all the backups and the lack of staff and everything. And then it got even worse because there was a lot of porch robbers or whatever those are called, where people were stealing packages because of the hard times. And it was really rough at the beginning as having to replace items for people. And I would never want somebody to get a package and it be tampered with and then have to pay it again. So a lot of expenses like that. Luckily, it's on the uptick and USPS is getting better and all that. So then on the flip side of COVID, I've been really beneficial with my company's primarily loungewear, and that's all everybody's wearing right now. So I do a lot of matching sweatpants sets and sweatshirts, and the business for that has just been awesome. So that was a great uptick for my side of the business.
Perfect timing, right? It's all in perspective. That's great. I know that Sue, you had a question in the chat. If you wanted to ask that, we have some time, and then I have a few questions to wrap us up.
Sure, thanks, Allie. So I think in all the people I have ever worked with when it comes to starting a business, it's what actually makes you jump? What does somebody say to you? What happens? So I'm just curious as to what was the catalyst that made you actually jump off the ledge and do this? Because I think it's fascinating.
Court, if you want to start.
For me, I honestly was kind of thinking like, if not now, when? Because in my perfect head, I was like, oh, in my 30s, I'll open up a boutique and I'll do this. And I was like, wait, why don't I do it now? Like, I mean, at that point about a year and a half ago, I mean, I was in my prime of college debt and I had no money anyway. So I was like, I might as well take the jump now, and really invest in myself. And I had an idea that I can stand by, and I still stand by today, that I see this vision coming into play and see it being successful. So I was like, why not start it now, and really dedicate myself and time to it? And I did, and I just took the leap.
Danielle, you wanted to go next?
I jumped a few times. The first initial one was just, having to kind of say temporarily goodbye to the master's degree that I just paid for and worked my ass off for, and shift to a completely different audience, everything. I was studying 18 to 22-year-olds, and then I took on this job where our customers are 3-year-old swimmers to 85-year-old members. So that was definitely a big jump. I think just having worked there for a year already, that definitely helped me be able to take it on, because I knew that there was room for a creative outlet. Whereas when you're working for higher education, you're kind of like the bottom of the barrel. When you're someone like me in an entry-level position, whereas we don't have a board of directors at our small business. Like, we are the board of directors. So when we have job interviews, we're like, hey, like, this is us. You're not meeting anybody above us. There's no God, like it's us. So I liked kind of having that control and power and ability to program and make things happen. I would say my second jump, because I did take this job on and my boss had already envisioned an indoor cycling studio. And I would say my first indoor cycling studio class that I took in New York City made me say, yep, this is what I want. I want a dark room. I want lights. I want loud music. And I want people sweating their butts off. And we kind of made that happen. I've taken indoor spin. I've taken it in Boston and other parts of the country, but the New York City, everything's bigger and better there. And that just made me say, yeah, let's do it. So we've been open successfully now for 3 years. At first, Western Mass was kind of like, what? You have to pay for a class? Like, totally foreign. Do you have earplugs? Like, what? And now, like, they're hooked. My mom rides 3 times a week and she's 62. So it's awesome. Yeah, check out our website.
Awesome. And Bailey, if you wanted to share a little bit.
Why did I make the jump? Well, I think, as I mentioned before, I prefer working for myself instead of other people, just because you get to have a say-so in creativity, whereas when you work with other chefs in the industry, like, they are top dog, you do what they say. If you try to be a little creative, no, I don't like that. I want it my way. So now I'm my own top dog and I get to do what I want, and, I get to call the shots, and I think that's really awesome.
Awesome. One other question that I have, Bailey, if you wanted to start with this one, is what's one piece of advice you would give to somebody who's considering either starting their own small business, whether that's in person or online or a hybrid of both? What would you tell somebody in that space?
So it's crazy because a lot of the culinary students, or like the baking and pastry people who are thinking about starting their own thing, they come and talk to me all the time, and I will happily speak to anyone who ever has any questions about starting a business, because, there's no guidebook. Besides, we take our business classes, but there's no step-by-step of what to do. And one thing that I would say is, you are never ready. You will never have enough money. You will never have enough information. You will never have enough connections. So don't be scared. You're always going to be learning along the way. So yeah, you're never going to be ready. So just do it.
Awesome. Court?
That's literally what I would say, is just do it. That's kind of how my mindset worked for it too. And then I guess like a little bit different view of it too is learn a little bit about accounting and taxes, because that stuff is hard. I cry every quarter when I do them. Let's be honest.
Awesome. And Danielle?
I guess two things. Fail. Keep failing. Accept the fails, honestly, because you're going to learn from them. And when you fail once, like, you're never going to do that mistake again, because it will shake you and you'll get that sick feeling in your stomach, and that's okay. And then I would say patience. Especially if you're going to open up a small business with such a wide range of customers. Like, 1 second, I literally could be on the phone with a mom that splits custody but wants her daughter to learn how to swim. And then the next person, somebody who's terrified about coming into a gym. So like, just being able to switch hats and try and put people, your feet in their shoes. It was very hard with COVID because everybody had their sad story, but everybody had a sad story, right? Like, at the end of the day, we were a business that got shut down for 3 months. So it was hard to be like, I get it, because they didn't listen to me at all. But patience, like the phrase killing with kindness, it is so true. And then when you hang up the phone, that's when you can go to your coworker, like, can you believe this? Like, let that be your safe space, because you know people have probably done that to you if you've complained or had an issue. Just face it.
Awesome. Wanted to see if anybody had any questions for our panelists. Wanted to take some time before we wrap up to open up the floor. You can either unmute yourself or write a question you have in the chat.
I actually have a quick question. So to the three of you, what made you realize that you were going to be able to push through the failure? That like once you failed that it was going to be okay and you could kind of bite it and then kind of digest it and just be like, you know what, I'm on to something next and I'm going to fix it. I feel like that's hard for anyone to kind of just accept and like bite when it's for your own brand, it's for your own self. And it's like, it takes a lot to do what you're doing. And I feel like the failure definitely weighs down, but how do you bounce back? Like, what's your best way for your name?
That's a great question. Thank you, Abigail.
I would say, I would just say to be real with your clients and your customers. Like, everybody sees like Instagram and everything is perfect and edited and whatever. I think just being yourself, but obviously being professional. Like when I was teaching on Zoom, like I literally was like, hey everyone, this is my living room. Like it was very like, it was me, and it was fine that they saw me, but there's always going to be that person that won't accept your apology or won't accept your reasoning as to why like the app isn't working or they couldn't book their bike or whatever. There's always going to be that person, but most people, if you communicate well and you're also just a genuine person, they usually are like, no big deal. I mean, think about like you, if you've ever dealt with a company and they shipped your order to the wrong place or whatever. Typically we're like, okay, just send me a new one. Like, there's only like one crotchety person out of like 10 people, I think. I would say. So just let yourself fail and know that like you're most likely going to be able to be okay, as long as it's not a significant mess up with their life.
Awesome. Bailee, if you wanted to answer the same fail-ish question.
Abigail, I think as a business owner, you are going to fail multiple times, like Danielle said, like you fail and you own it. I think what's really important is also what Danielle said, like you reflect and you know what happened and you are never going to make that mistake again, whether it was your mistake or an employee's mistake, you have to own up to it. You have to apologize. You know, if that means you refund and you lose profit, it won't be the first time. It won't be the last time. You know, yeah, you just have to own it. And like I said, reflect, take notes, and make sure you do your best to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Court, did you want to add anything?
Pretty much the same thing, as you really just need to accept any fails and kind of meshing both of them together. If I mess up an order for somebody, I will own up to it right away, kind of confront the situation, and really make sure that I'm working on that relationship with the customers, because when it comes down to it, especially a small business, your customers are really what keep you going. So building that relationship with them and making sure that they're getting what they want out of it, and so are you. But at the same time is standing behind your company and knowing that you're going to put through exactly what you need.
Go ahead.
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. Thanks for your question, Abigail. And we had a similar question about, like, what was your most challenging fail that you've encountered, and how were you able to overcome it? So I don't know if anybody has an experience or an example that they wanted to share.
God, we've had so many. One from like something that you might think is simple, but we've sent out like blast emails without BCCing everybody. You will never not do that once you've done it once. Again, most of our people they didn't even realize. But of course we had like that one person, like, how dare you share my information? Like, you know, we've had, you know, there's members that think they're the only members and the class schedule should align to their perfect life. And there's sometimes that shift in a schedule that we make that makes some people happy and make, you know, some people upset. And I wouldn't say that's like a failure, but it's almost like you have to prepare for a failure. So you always have to have like a reasoning behind what you've done to protect yourself with that. You know, I've had little things. I've had like wrong instructors on the schedule. We've had wrong class times. I mean, when you're managing like 1,000,001 things, it's going to happen. But as soon as it's spot on and found, I mean, even today, our app, we had to renew it through iTunes or the App Store. Who knew? I mean, no one told us this when we started. So our people can't book their bikes for another 24 hours. What are we going to do? So we post on Facebook, we send out an email, and hopefully people will just be able to breathe for 24 hours, but we'll see. So it happens every single day. I mean, your cleaning person isn't going to show up. Your swim instructor isn't going to show up. You got to just figure it out.
Awesome. So another question in the chat is, what parts of the business do you outsource? If you consider using a digital marketing team, this person is interested in, for example, should I consider using a digital marketing team to help build my brand? So if you have any insight around like outsourcing, or do you currently outsource or have partners that you work with on a day-to-day basis?
I can kick this one off. So for me, especially since it's a clothing brand and a lot of that is typically outsourced, I actually try and do as much as I can in-house. It makes sense financially to learn as much as you can. Kind of like how I was saying about doing my taxes and stuff. I learned that because it costs money to outsource everything, and it depends. Some things make more sense, especially if you're buying in bulk after time. Makes sense to outsource. But at the beginning, I've actually learned how to screen print and kind of do little things that I would typically outsource. So financially, that definitely makes sense to do it yourself. But for skills that you actually don't know, so say, like you said, marketing, I believe that was the question. If you don't know how to do that, I think that's the biggest part of being a small business owner, is to actually accept the fact that you don't know how to do everything. And if it's something you can learn and teach yourself, yes, go ahead, do it. But if you don't know how to do it, outsource this, because having somebody come in and help you and use eyes that you don't have and give you advice that you don't know can only help you. So I definitely would recommend to own your weaknesses. That definitely made a huge difference for me, especially with growth of the company. Hope that helps.
If you're going to outsource, be prepared to spend money. Just like with our fitness members alone, we use one software and it's called MindBody. And it does all their payments, schedules their classes. I can see all their visits, blah, blah, blah. But to get a branded app is an extra $200 on top of the $200 that we pay monthly. So now I'm up to $400. Now, after 3 years of manually sending out mass emails, I begged and pleaded a mass email software called Frederick. That's another $200. And obviously you need the technology and you need the nice, teams of tech to blend together to take your client's information and be able to do that. But thinking about that being so simple, you don't expect a $600 monthly bill. So if you are going to outsource, either set them as almost like a treat yourself, like after 3 years of doing it manually, I'll finally be able to do this, or prioritize what you really need to outsource. I couldn't do it another year. We have 1,000 members and it just is what it is. But also if you're selling multiple things, then you're going to have different platforms as well. So for our swim school, we have another software that we pay monthly fees. And then for Cycle, we have another platform that we pay for. So the more you build, the more your finances also need to increase. It hurts, but you need those people.
Awesome. Just wanted to see if anybody else had any other questions. Where do we find software companies? Google?
Yeah, whatever industry you're in, I would say step one is, I don't know how well you can do this now, is go to a conference. So whatever industry you're in, there should be some sort of conference. So for me, we went to NERSA, which is a athletic association. And then we switched our platforms from a company called Zen Planner to MindBody 4 years ago. So now we go to the MindBody conference, and they have softwares that are there that are compatible with MindBody. So that's where we found Frederick. So everything kind of works as one. And then it also, teaches us all the cool new fitness trends that are going on and whatnot. So typically your industry should have some sort of event you can go to, whether it's virtually or in person, but that's how we found everything. Also look at your competitors and see what they use. Our website is made with Wix, and we found that from another gym that we liked, and it was very user-friendly. So start looking at because a catering company like Bailee's might not use the same website as us because we're trying to show different things. So definitely look at what your industry is and go from there.
Kind of what you just said too. I don't even know if you meant to even say this, but networking with people that are already doing what you're doing is amazing. It's free advice. Especially opportunities like this, or going on LinkedIn and search the job that you want or the company that you envision, and kind of use that as a tool for, hey, can I ask you what software do you recommend? I'm starting out right now, especially when you're in college or you're just starting out, using that kind of lower vulnerability opportunity to reach out to people will definitely help a lot.
Awesome. Well, thank you, panelists, for being here. I appreciate you all so much, and your time and your energy and your spirit with us tonight, and teaching us about your business and how you did it and where you are. And we're so grateful that you're part of our community as alumni. And so Like I said, this will be recorded. I'm happy to share it with you all. So if you wanted to share it with people in your network, feel free. If you want to connect with the alumni on LinkedIn, I'm sure they all have wonderful LinkedIn. So follow their businesses, whatever works for you. But if you're interested in attending any other events, please reach out to me. And we have homecoming coming up very soon in October. It's going to be the 14th to the 25th. All of our events will be virtual, so we'll be hanging out in Ring Central a whole lot, but it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so much fun, and I'm excited to see what we can build together. So thank you all for joining us and for our panelists here tonight. Have a great night, everyone.
Courtney, Danielle, Bailey, wonderful to see you. I have missed you. Yes. Well done.
In Florida, let me know.
I would absolutely, Danielle.
Yeah, good luck on your next adventure. We'll talk soon, though.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everyone. Thank you.